Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivana Dari Yasoda Nandana Bhajajana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Bhajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivana Dari Yasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Brivaraja Kacharya Astota Sajashi Srimad His Divine Grace Shila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Harinama Acharya Shila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Gangamaya Ki Jai Yamunamaya Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Gaur Premanandi. Oh, glorious the assembled devotees. Oh, glorious the assembled devotees. Oh, glorious the assembled devotees. Oh, glorious the Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Well, I don't know how many of you know anything about me. I've kind of been in the shadows a little bit over all these years. Trimunapati knows me for a long time.
I know him, he's great. Great friend.
So I joined the Krishna consciousness movement in 1978 in Hawaii. I'd gone to Hawaii for the very important business of surfing. I was an unpaid amateur surfer, so basically a bum. And that was the surf mecca at the time, Hawaii. So I was there minding my own business, but then my living situation changed and moved into a household where the people were going to the Sunday feast in Honolulu. And I was some kind of quasi-vegetarian at the time, kind of struggling with vegetarianism. I didn't really know what was going on, but I was kind of headed in that direction. And so they thought, oh, that's great, then you can come with us to the Krishna temple. And, it's vegetarian food, it's all you can eat, And, we're surfer dudes, not with a lot of money. Generally kind of hungry all the time, But I refused the offer. I said, no, I've already seen those people, We lived in Los Angeles, actually within the 5-mile radius of the temple, which is auspicious. And we would see them doing Harinam Sankirtan. I remember very vividly, distinctly, driving up to the movie theater in Westwood, and there they are. Let's see, what year was that? Maybe 1970, 1969, 70, 71. Who knows what devotees there? It could have been Vishnu Jan Maharaj, it could have been Tamal Krishna, who knows who was in that party. It's a big, long procession of devotees. And I looked out the window, and I was in the back seat of the car. I go, Dad, what's that? And he said, I have no idea. So, in those days, 1970s, there were no people with shaved heads, You were either trying to survive some cancer treatment, or you were an actor. There were 2 actors, Telly Savalas and Yul Brynner. And maybe Wilt Chamberlain had a shaved head, I don't know. It wasn't cool to have a shaved head. Okay, and here's all these people with robes on and shaved heads. Wow. Whew. But that was an impression. That was maybe my first impression. And that's kind of what happens, is you get all these impressions and they lead up to more and more contact and ultimately a chance to surrender. So they wore me down. They would go to the temple and come back all happy, and nobody had a shaved head, so I started to gain some confidence. So then I went with them. They packed me up in the car, and we went to the temple. It's a very vivid memory as well. Seeing the devotees, smelling the incense, smells coming from the kitchen, and the kirtan, the pulsating rhythms, and then the prasadam serve out was just amazing. I ate more than I could eat, I'm sure. And but we sat down with the devotees, and they began to tell me things that I'd never heard before. And leading up to going to this temple for the first time, in the previous household, there was this older surfer guy, hippie guy, and he had this whole library. It's referred to as the spiritual hippie library. You know, you got all these books, probably beginning with, autobiography of a devotee, and then there's books by Meher Baba and Vivekananda and Krishnamurti, and on and on. So he was giving me these books to read. He was very enthusiastic because he could see I was a little curious. But none of these books were really doing anything for me. I was getting some kind of vocabulary, karma, reincarnation, yoga, But what is the purpose of it all, It wasn't, it was like a string of zeros. There was nothing in front to make it valuable. But I remember the last book. So he kept giving me these books, and he gave me the book all excited. You read this book. I'm reading the book, and then I give it back, and he goes, he would go, so how did you like that book? And I would say, well, it was good. It was a good reading, but I didn't. I don't know. Didn't get it. Oh, okay. Well, I'll try this book. So he was giving me all these books. It's leading up to this last book. Oh, he really thought this last book was tremendous. So he gave me this last book by Krishnamurti, famous Māyāvādī, residing in Ojai. So that book was the worst book of his whole collection. In this book by Krishnamurti, he explains that there's absolutely no need for books. All throughout the book, he's telling me, you don't need books. But he's written a book telling me, you don't need books. So I was so disgusted at the end. And I kept reading these books thinking, there's going to be a jewel at the end. There's going to be some silver lining, And I get to the end, and that's the conclusion. He's been leading me up to this whole time. I was fried, It's like, wow, But I didn't want to be rude. This is my landlord, I'm renting a room from him, so. But then later, I changed households and went into this other household. They were going to the temple. Now I'm at the temple, getting this prasadam. Everything's really interesting. The thing that really struck me was that there are all these people, my age basically, so enthusiastic now for religion, for spiritual life. I came from kind of like a real mediocre Christian upbringing, where it was this kind of a Sunday thing, not really a mainstay of our, of our life. It was just kind of a Sunday thing, like a hobby almost, This is what we do. We go to church, we dress up, And then we just go back to like some kind of normal, And I got to that point where I started to ask questions. Oh, these aren't good questions for them, though. They don't like these kind of questions. So you want me to believe in God, and you say that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the light. No one will come before or be able to go to God but through Jesus. And it's like, okay, but just like if you want to go to some destination, now it's all on the internet, but in my day, you went to the travel agent, right? And let's say you really didn't have a good idea where you wanted to go. You just knew there were better places, and you heard some bits and pieces. Hawaii, Australia. I don't know, the Amazon. You want some adventure. You want to go somewhere, and you have some money you've been saving up, and now you want to invest that money in a future wonderful experience. So you go to the travel agent. And you expect from the travel agent knowledge. You expect some photos, a description of what you're going to do at that place. What's the weather going to be like? Are there mountains? Are we going to hike? Is it a, ocean? Or are we going to scuba dive or something? What are we going to do? Hang glide? It's like all the things they do here. If someone wants to come to San Diego, they get a brochure. It lists all the different attractions and things that people do, people have done, and there's pictures to go with it. So I'm asking, okay, so what does God look like? Oh, well, nobody knows. No one's ever seen God. Oh. That's unfortunate. Okay, so tell me, what's the spiritual world like? What's it look like? Oh, well, that also you're going to have to just, find out once you get there. Well, you want me to dedicate my life to this religion with this promise at the end, but you don't really have much information about it, do you? You don't know where it is, what it's going to be like when we get there, what we're going to do there. And then, you see in movies, in the little tracks, they have some kind of idea. There's some dry ice over the, dry ice smoke, right? And there's maybe a person with wings on his back. Angel, right? 2 arms, 2 wings. You might be an angel there, and amongst this kind of foggy, kind of dry ice feature. So, at this point, I'm not sold on this destination. I have my doubts, serious doubts about, Christianity, what the promised land is, and then, of course, the scientific community, just, trashing this whole kind of thing, and then they want to introduce their, an equally, actually, more than, not equally, even more bogus explanation for everything. So I have serious doubts, but now I'm at the Hare Krishna temple. And there's all these very enthusiastic devotees there, which is really mind-boggling because, there are no answers to my questions. So why are these guys so fired up? At this point, I'm convinced nobody knows who God is. Nobody knows anything about the spiritual world. And then I start talking to these devotees of Krishna, with the bald heads and robes, dhotis. And so the very first thing that you ever hear is that you're not this body. So, I had heard that we're the soul. But in Christianity, it's kind of like this, there's this weird kind of combination that you are the soul, or you have a soul, and you have a body, and there's some kind of, combination. Because somehow in their mind, you're going to have this body in heaven, even though you're going to bury it here, or maybe cremate it. Somehow it's going to be there along with your grandmother and your grandfather. Right? I guess it's heaven for some, but not for the old people, right? Very incomplete. So I wanted to read some of these verses. They're very powerful, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Nainam chananti shastrani, nainam dadati pavakaha, nachainam kleshariyapo, na soshati maruta. The soul can never be cut into pieces by any weapon, nor can it be burned by fire, moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. And then Srila Prabhupada's purport. All kinds of weapons, swords, flames, rains, tornadoes, etc. are unable to kill the spirit soul. It appears that there are many kinds of weapons made of earth, water, air, ether, etc., in addition to the modern weapons of fire. Even the nuclear weapons of the modern age are classified as fire weapons, but formerly there were other weapons made of all different types of material elements. Firearms were counteracted by water weapons, which are now unknown to modern science, nor to modern scientists have knowledge of tornado weapons. Nonetheless, the soul can never be cut into pieces, nor annihilated by any number of weapons, regardless of scientific devices. Nor is it ever possible to cut the individual souls from the original soul. The Māyāvādī, however, cannot describe how the individual soul evolved from ignorance and consequently became covered by illusory energy, because they are atomic, individual souls, sanatan, eternally. They are prone to be covered by the illusory energy, and thus they become separated from the association of the Supreme Lord, just as the sparks of fire, although one in quality with the fire, are prone to be extinguished when out of the fire. In the Varāha Purāṇa, the living entities are described as separated parts and parcels of the Supreme. They are eternally so, according to Bhagavad-gītā also. So even after being liberated from illusion, the living entity remains a separate identity, as is evident from the teachings of the Lord to Arjuna. Arjuna became liberated by the knowledge received from Krishna, but he never became one with Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada is, there's two messages here in the purport. First of all, Krishna says the soul's eternal, and it's not going to ever be slain. It's not going to be killed by any weapon, or burned by fire, moistened by water, withered by the wind. So there are living entities all over the universe, because there are bodies made of all the different elements, and the soul can never be killed. So that's the explanation for the fact that all the planets have living entities. But we have material vision, so we can't see them, and we have a material experience. So you'll hear scientists say, well, life as we know it does not exist on these planets, and that's a little bit honest of them to say, because there is life there, they just can't see it. Just like there's so many colors in the sunshine. We don't see them, but with a prism, you can see all the different colors that are there in light. But with our vision, we can't see. But with the aid of the prism, we can see. And just like the air, we can't see the air. But once some smoke enters the air, then we can see that there is smoke in the air. And we can see that the air is moving the trees and it's rippling the water. We can feel it, although we can't see it. But it's there. Just like the mind is there. The mind and intelligence are also there. But can you see the mind? Can you see the intelligence? Can you see the ego? But you ask any scientist, or if you say to any scientist, my dear sir, you have no intelligence. And they'll protest. Oh, yes, I do. Well, then show me. Show me. Well, I can demonstrate it. No, but show me your intelligence. Give it to me. Let me see it. Well, okay, show me your mind then. You can show me your mind, right? You have a mind, don't you? Don't you have a great mind? You got a PhD. You must have a great and powerful mind. Why don't you show me that then? No, I can't show you that. Why are you being so difficult with me? Well, because you say that you have to experience everything by some kind of pictures, or you have to weigh it, or there has to be some proof of everything for you to believe it. But right now you believe in the mind, and you believe in the intelligence. Why don't you believe in the soul? Can you show me the soul? No, but, where does the consciousness come from then? If there's no soul, where does the consciousness come from? They want to try to make us understand that we are a combination of chemicals. And for this combination of chemicals, we have this body. And, we can see this. We can take a picture of it. I can show you, I can send it, I can text you, I can email you. Here it is, this is me. We have it on all of our documents, our driver's license, our passport. This is me. Okay, good. Stamp, you can come into our country. It's a document, but it's just the body. So, explain then where consciousness comes from. You feel conscious. How is it that you feel conscious? And if it's just a combination of chemicals, why can't you produce consciousness then? It's a reasonable request, It's a reasonable challenge. If you're a man of science, PhD, Nobel Prize, all these accolades, then how come, you can't produce consciousness, you can't produce life? Just give me a mosquito. Oh yeah, we have that. It's a robot thing. No. Produce 2 mosquitoes that can replicate. Oh, we're getting there. We're getting there. It's a post-dated check. In the future, in the future we'll. But Krishna is saying right now, 5,000 years ago, that we are the Atma, the soul. Here Krishna in another place in Bhagavad-gītā chapter 7, Bhumirapo nalo vayu kam monobuddha evacha ahankarityam me pina prakritirastada. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego, all together, these 8 comprise my separated material energies. So notice here that he's including mind, intelligence, and ego. These are material energies. Isn't that interesting? because there's actually two bodies. We have this gross material body made of the gross material elements, but then we also have this mind, intelligence, and ego. That's the subtle body. And that subtle body is actually goes with the soul, life after life after life. This explains why we have the DNA that we get. You know, the DNA, the scientists will tell us, you know, that this is a map. And the body is following this map. It's like a blueprint. That's why you have blue eyes, 6 foot tall, white skin. Someone else has a different color skin, shorter, taller, bigger. Someone has developed intelligence. Someone's able to play the piano at an early age. All of these things. So why is it? This is a very interesting question, because we have this DNA. So that DNA comes together right in the very beginning when the egg is impregnated. The DNA is there, the soul enters, and the body starts to be created. It's just a magical moment. Everything's coming together all of a sudden. Right at that point, life occurs. Actually, it's a misnomer. Life is eternal. That law was discovered by Einstein, 1907. Thermodynamics. Thermodynamics. Energy, actually everything is energy. As Krishna is saying, these 8 comprise my separated material energies. The dirt, the water, the fire, the air, ether. So everything, the wood, the cushion, the metal, the plastic, everything that is here that we've created, or it's all come from this earth. We didn't borrow anything from outer space and bring it in here. It's all come from here. You know, it's hard to believe that plastic, you know, but it's all part of Krishna's separated material energies. We're so very intelligent and clever that we create all these things. Of course, they're bad for us, but we get to have some cheap toys and things. So these are separated material energies, and Einstein, 1907, there's these 3 laws of thermodynamics. At this point, I'm really only interested in the first law, and that is that everything is energy, and energy can neither be created or nor destroyed. This is Albert Einstein. He's a little late getting this discovery. Krishna's talking about it 5,000 years ago. But to his credit, he's stumbled upon this reality, this absolute knowledge by his own endeavor. So, you know, we can take this material energy, the mind, intelligence, and we can utilize it to bring us up to a certain point of realization, and then we hit a ceiling. To go beyond it, we need these books of antiquity. This is something that these scientists are going to ultimately have to grapple with, because they're constantly hitting this ceiling and redevising or rewriting their books and their theories. I get these people all the time in my car. I do this rideshare business, so I get these scientists in here in my car. They come for these different conferences, and we discuss these points. And they agree that everything is eternal energy. And so I make the point, so we're eternal. They have a hard time with that because they think we're the body, and the body obviously dies. But Krishna says there's a superior energy. Besides this inferior nature, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is a superior energy of mine, which are all living entities who are struggling with material nature and are sustaining the universe. So there are two kinds of energy. This is another thing that they haven't gotten to understand that we have this gross material energy, but then we have the living entity. And the analogy is very simple. Of course, these PhD people and these great thinkers, they tend to appreciate things that are more complicated, because then they get to dissect it and try to grapple with it and struggle with it and come to some conclusion on their own. They don't like things just handed to them. They don't like things simple. Bhagavad Swami was telling us, maybe you remember, about his brother, his older brother. They both got Bhagavad-gītā and came to Krishna consciousness. They both got exposed to this philosophy. And then Bhagavad Maharaj was very excited. He went to his brother and he said, asked him, did you like Bhagavad-gītā? He says, yeah, I read Bhagavad-gītā, but it's all just way too simple. Too simple. How can this all be so simple? I don't like it. I need something more of a challenge. These academics sometimes they're just too smart for their own good. Can't appreciate the simple things. So sometimes we'll have discussions with these people. And maybe you've had these discussions too. They'll say, yes, we agree that everything is energy. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. But they think that this material body is who we are. So then I asked the question, as Srila Prabhupada asked in these conversations with Swarup Damodar. There was a book published called Life Comes from Life. Very powerful book, easy for everyone to understand. And they asked the question, so if life is just a combination of chemicals, then what is the difference between a live body and a dead body? Let's say a drowning victim. You just pulled them out of the water, trying to bring them back to life, but no, can't do it. Pronounce the person dead. But all the chemicals are there. Everything's still there in the body. There's just some water entered the lungs, they couldn't breathe, and they'll just put the oxygen back in. Or whatever it is, some electric pulse, some shock. If life is just chemicals, you should just bring this person back every time, Why are you failing? And then when someone is, deceased, and there's the body, obvious, then, you can't say, but there's your relative, there's your father, or there's your friend. No, they're gone. Obviously gone. They're not there. They're gone. So what is it that's missing? What is it that's gone from this body? Well, it's the consciousness, and the consciousness comes from this superior energy, from this jiva. That's what the modern-day atheistic scientists are missing. They're missing this essential knowledge that there are two kinds of energy, the material energy and the superior spiritual energy. The way we try to communicate that to them is that there is a anti-material particle. And they don't like the word spiritual. So you have to try to work around. There's always some way to work around and communicate with people. So you have to find out how to do that. It's a changing world. We don't change the philosophy, but we change our delivery. See how we can get into and pass their defense mechanisms to try to get them to understand, just like the devotees did with me. I argued these points. I said, we are this body. This is it. Come on, here I am. How come you can't accept that, this is me right here? I'm not somebody else, I'm me. Not a very good argument, but very common argument. And I also said, they said, no, but you've gone from boyhood to youth to old age. Well, I wasn't at old age yet, but you've gone from boyhood to youth to adult. I was 22 at the time. I said, no, it's the same body, it just stretches. I was really trying hard, It just stretches, and now it's bigger because the fingerprints are the same, the parts of the eye are the same, the structure's the same. I still look like my dad, as I did when I was, growing up. I just, but they were defeating me. No, the body you had when you were 5 years old is not the body you have now. When you were 5 years old, could you father a child? No. But you're 22 years old, now you can father a child. Is your voice the same? No. It's not the same. Now you're growing a mustache. Can you grow a mustache when you're 5? Have you seen? 5-year-old with mustache? Married with children? Not possible. When you were 5 years old, how much did your body weigh? 40, 50 pounds? And what does your body weigh now? 170? Is it the same? Is 170 the same as 50? If I have $50, will you trade me with your $170? I'll do that deal all day long. No, you're not going to trade. It's not the same. Not the same body at all. So now, modern medical science has studied the body, and they've understood that every 7 to 10 years, practically every cell in the body is changed. Even the skeletal structure. The skeletal structure takes 10 years. Imagine that, your bones are being replaced every 10 years. But it's a fact. It's real easy to see, from baby to 5 years old. Okay, that's a lot of growth period, big growth period. From 5 to 10, 10 to 20, huge growth period. And now, in old age, our bones are becoming weak. We're breaking our hips and all these things, So they gradually started to convince me. Yeah, not this body. Boyhood to youth to old age. That makes sense. They also use the analogy of the car and the driver. Just like you have a car, and you purchase the car, you get in the car and you start driving it. According to your desires, you drive it here and there. So, same thing with the body. You're in the body and you move it. You take the body here and there. The body is your vehicle. It can walk, or it can call Uber. You can get in the Uber car, get out of the Uber car, get into the building. Everybody here, they brought their body here tonight. Because you desired to. The living entity desired to come. So So we were talking about DNA before. So how is it that we get this DNA? How do you get this blueprint? You know, with all these characteristics. How do you get that? You haven't done anything. You're in the womb right now. There's been this, impregnation. But you haven't done anything to get this result. Right? This is just the beginning of a new body. So they don't connect the dots like this, but thermodynamics and cause and effect, they go together actually very well for us. If you have a certain DNA, a certain blueprint, how did you get all those characteristics, good and bad? Some people get an amazing body with amazing intelligence, born in an amazing family with wealth, an amazing city, an amazing state, an amazing country on a really awesome planet. Not all planets are equal. How did you get into this situation with these parents, with this brother and sister? If you've never lived before, how do you get this now? If you've never had a body before and activities before, therefore, you must have a previous life. There's no other logical explanation. Of course, what I was fed as a kid was that, someone's born in a dirt hole in Somalia with vultures waiting. You've all seen that picture. And someone's born in La Jolla or Claremont even. How is it? The same day they're born. One's in poverty, severe poverty. One's in severe opulence. Oh, that's God's plan. We have no idea. He just puts people there. He's got this plan. It's just, I don't know. It's like he's not looking. He's just throwing darts. It's just whimsical. The atheists say, "Oh, well, this is if that's God, then he's just an abusive person." What kind of, God is that? We can't possibly accept that there's God if that's your explanation. But there must be a previous life because cause and effect is a law of material nature that every scientist will agree to. So there must be a previous life. There must be at least one previous life. And if you get them to admit to one, then you got them. But they won't. In fact, if we keep using this in our preaching, they'll start to change their thinking. They'll start modifying these laws of material nature that they've come up with to try and circumvent this idea that there's a God. These Hare Krishnas are starting to, creep into our turf, We're starting to lose our funding. The public is no longer interested in our scientific research. And without their tax money, we're going to be out of business. So I get these people in my car, and we have these little chats, and I don't get much time with them, so it kind of moves quickly. 5 or 7 minutes. It gets quiet in the car real fast. They don't want to hear it. I always catch them off guard. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm just kind of like a Uber driver or something. What's this guy going to know? And then I just start in on them. In a subtle way, though. I can't just, oh, you're a scientist? Well, I make friends with them. I'm going to make them comfortable in the car. And then, I've been talking to you guys, you scientists, and we were talking in the last car, we were talking about this thermodynamics. I find that to be very interesting, thermodynamics. And then who came up with that? It was Einstein, right? Yeah. Oh yeah. And then they start, they're going to educate me, and they should, because I'm not a scientist. I have no PhD. I have no business, challenging them. But then start asking, these questions. So okay, so everything is energy. And energy is eternal. There's no beginning nor end. So we must be eternal then. And they're just like, oh no. Well, let's back up here. This is how did we get onto this all of a sudden? And another card we were talking about this DNA. So that there must be a previous life. Of course, they just can't even begin to accept that, because it's going to ruin their whole life. They're so heavily invested in this so-called science and career that if they start even entertaining these ideas, it's just going to be just bad. So they want to avoid that kind of conclusion. So the way they connect these dots with cause and effect and thermodynamics, they get a picture of Darwin's face, right? We connect the dots, we get Krishna's face. This is all the science that Krishna's been speaking for a long time. Every now and then the scientists come up with some discoveries, but they just don't connect the dots in the right way. So they come back again and again to this material world and take another try at success. And actually, it's even a little worse than just that. They're proud of their intelligence and they want to discover everything themselves. Actually, it's much more sinister than that. These scientists and all the whole atheistic community, they don't want God to exist. They're not looking for God. They want to be God. Yeah. And if there's a God out there, and they prove that there's a God out there, then I'm cooked. There's no way I can be God if there's a real God out there. So they just want to get rid of this idea of God. Of course, you talk to any atheist, and what do they talk about? They're just talking about God all the time. There can't be a God, there's no God, and when anybody's looking for God, they're actually like God conscious in a weird way. Like Kamsa, he was Krishna conscious, But he was conscious that Krishna is going to come and kill me, and I need to kill him first. It's like the classic atheistic scenario. If we can just keep smashing these religious people down, and the Christian community is so easy to do that because they have no knowledge. Now, I came from this very ignorant upbringing here in America. And when Srila Prabhupada came and gave this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, actually he didn't come with Bhagavad Gita, he came with Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is a vast, pretty big voluminous work. After Srila Prabhupada translated and wrote his Bhaktivedanta purports, he had many books in this series called Srimad Bhagavatam. The reason why he didn't come with Bhagavad Gita is because Bhagavad Gita, especially in India, it had already been spoiled by these Māyāvādī commentators. It's practically ruined. The whole country's misled. Yatomat tatopat. Manava seva is Madhava seva. None of that's in any shastra, but it's just all pervasive, all over India. He has to call a man on the street, what do you do? What is the good spiritual life? Oh, do good to others. Feed the people. Make sure their bodies are taken care of. Hospitals, schools. Oh, but what's the ultimate goal? Oh, merge. Merge and become one with Krishna. Get mukti. This is not the conclusion as we read before. Arjuna did not merge into the body of Krishna. That was never. We do ultimately merge. I'll read you, because there are the three different Vishnus. That's another thing that is a big misconception, that Krishna comes from Vishnu. There are three Vishnus. Here in the purport, the science of God analyzes the constitutional position of God and His diverse energies. Material nature is called Prakriti, or the energy of the Lord in His different Purusha incarnations, expansions, is described in the Sveta Tantra. My Sanskrit's not very good. Sorry, I apologize. Anyway, for material creation, Lord Krishna's plenary expansion assumes three Vishnus. The first one, Mahavishnu, creates the total material energy known as Mahat Tattva. The second, Garbhodakshai Vishnu, enters into all the universes to create diversities in each of them. And the third, Kshirodakshai Vishnu, is diffused as the all-pervading supersoul in all the universes and is known as Paramatma, who is present even within the atoms. Anyone who knows these three Vishnus can be liberated from material entanglement. So at the end of this Mahatattva, everything gets wound back up into the body of Vishnu. But because there's no engagement for the eternal soul, soul's active by nature, there must be some engagement. But because there's no engagement when you merge into the body of Vishnu or Krishna, there's no engagement there, so you have to come back out again. So when the universes come out, the living entities all get material bodies, and then they're engaged in activities. And then when the breathing process is, breathing back in, everything comes back in to the body. And we're inside the body of Vishnu for a very long time. But again, we have to come out. So this idea of merging and becoming one with Krishna, the Brahmajyoti, or just merging into the body of Krishna, is a temporary type of liberation. So all these things have been, all this misinformation has been based on the misinterpretation of Bhagavad-gītā. So when Srila Prabhupada came to America, he brought Srimad Bhagavatam, because Srimad Bhagavatam is uncorruptible. There's no way to misinterpret Srimad Bhagavatam. So gradually I became convinced of this Krishna consciousness. One thing that was very encouraging for me was that this idea, well, what if I try this bhakti yoga, this Krishna consciousness? What if I'm not complete at the end? What if I don't remember Krishna at the time of death? What will happen? But Krishna promises us that whatever spiritual advancement we make is kept. And in the next life, you can build on that. It carries with the soul, with the subtle body. There's all these spiritual credits into your next body. And in fact, you'll get a better body, more suitable, and a better family, more suitable for advancing in Krishna consciousness. So there's no loss or diminution. So that was also very encouraging for me. So I ultimately joined the ashram. It was April 1st, 1978. April Fool's Day. I said, I'm no longer Maya's fool. I'm going to surrender. I remember one of the devotees, he was my friend. He was friendly to me, and he was he kind of had this little work operation, and he was like the craftsman for the community. And he said, so when are you going to join? I heard you're going to join. I said, yes, I'm going to join. And he goes, you keep saying you're going to join, but you don't join. He said, you're putting all the devotees in anxiety. Well, I was aware enough at that point, that I didn't want to put the devotees in anxiety. I didn't want to do anything negative, to discourage them or make them feel bad in any way. So it was really heavy for me. He just went off on me like that. And at that point, I just said, okay, I'll join. But I paid my rent, so I need to stay there until my rent's over. But I did. I followed through. Well, thank you very much. I'm sorry I went a little bit over, so we really don't have time for questions. But thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you to Guru Krishna. So